So it's day one of the LNG Shipping and Terminals Conference, and Gary Regan from Lansdowne Moritz, he's the managing consultant, gave an overview of the market and went into some details. And there was a question given on Slido about FSRU demand. That wasn't really surprising because there was an FSRU operator in the room and appearing on a panel later. So would you like to give your view of demand for FSRUs going forward?
Yes, thank you, Craig. So our view, we've got a very bullish view of FSRU demand. I mean, if you start at the macro level, the outlook for LNG demand globally is very strong all the way out to sort of 2040 and likely into 2050. And we see a big role for new FSRU projects in opening up new demand, both in existing markets and new markets. So if you look out over the last 3 years or so, last 10 years, we've seen maybe 3 projects a year sort of coming into the market. And by that, I mean sort of FSRUs being positioned in markets. So that's real customer demand. And looking forward, we see a similar demand out to 2030 based on a bottom-up analysis. So perhaps maybe 40 projects in the market, potential projects in the market at the moment, and we've ranked them based on credibility. So how much LNG demand is there government support, is there space to put in an FSRU, can they afford to pay, and we think there's credibly sort of 3 projects a year going forward out to 2030 based on projects that are planned at the moment. And beyond that, looking between say 2030 and 2040, there's just huge LNG demand potential in emerging markets such as Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Bangladesh, all markets that will take FSRUs, we think. So robust demand for FSRUs, maybe on average again 3 a year out to 2040 or so.
And how do you think that demand will be satisfied? Will it be new buildings? Will it be conversions of some of the older vessels in the fleet?
Yeah, again, historically what we've seen is FSRUs being long, if you like. So there's FSRUs available in the market ready to be placed into projects. And at the moment there's maybe 1-2 FSRUs available on the prompt market to go into projects. So we need to see continued investment in new FSRUs. Now, what does new mean? Conversion of steam turbine carriers, I think we'll continue to see that. Probably slightly larger vessels, 145 to 150,000 cubic meters. And there's a bit of a supply push there with some of these older steam turbine vessels being retired. But I think there's also a requirement for some customers, some projects for larger storage. So I think we might start to see some of the larger tri-fuel diesel electric and dual fuel diesel electric TFDEs being converted to FSRUs. And we haven't really seen that to date, but some of these vessels will be sort of approaching 15 years old and they'll become fantastic conversion candidates. That really puts new builds under pressure in terms of the economics of a conversion versus an FSRU. We saw Singapore go with a new build FSRU very recently. Makes sense for a 25-year plus project with a government with plenty of money behind it. But in some of the smaller and emerging markets, I think we'll increasingly see conversion projects and some of these TFDEs becoming more and more attractive. So we see sort of 3 markets, if you like, for FSRUs sort of working alongside each other. So smaller steam turbine conversions, larger vessel conversions, which will be more expensive, which will compete with new build FSRUs.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. That was a very detailed answer. Now, one question you probably can't give a lot of detail on, but you don't just work on FSRU demand and LNG demand. You did give a hint about some of the other projects that Lansdowne Moritz is involved in. Could you perhaps give us a little flavour of that area?
Yes, no problem. So we work a lot of what we actually do is in LNG bunkering and small-scale LNG. There's a huge amount of infrastructure required for new LNG bunker vessels to support and supply the LNG-fuelled vessels that have been ordered, the container vessels and the car carriers and other segments have been building LNG-fuelled vessels. So huge investment requirement for LNG bunker vessels, maybe $3 billion investment opportunity between now and 2030. So we've been working with lots of new entrants into that sector. This year's been really interesting as well, with a lot of investment opportunities in LNG shipping companies. So Gaslog, for example, BlackRock selling its 50% share of Gaslog. And we've had MSIP similarly looking to sell its circa 50% stake in the Höegh FSRU business. And there's been a couple of slightly smaller LNG carrier businesses up for sale as well. So really interesting year seeing some of these transactions coming to market, and we've been fortunate enough to work on a few of those.